What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be talking about my top 5 dream matchups for in eSports Box Club from the huge roster that we have seen. I'm not going to say who would win in the game or who would win in real life or who will be highest rate or nothing like that, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I want each and every one of you to leave at least one comment on what your dream matchup would be through the whole roster from legends to active fighters, even if it's 2 active fighters, 2 legends, whatever. I tried to go more legend versus active, because there's so many like legend versus legends you could do. You could even do like, you know, the Klitschko brothers going against each other, things like that we would never ever see. But I tried to go with legend versus current, or at least retired great versus current fighter. So these are fights that genuinely interest me or intrigued me, and yeah, so it's hard to whittle down to 5 because, like I said, there are so many awesome matchups that you could have in this game. So like I said, make sure to leave one dream matchup that you would have in eSports Box Club, or at least that you will do when it drops. Now, we're not going to do this huge deep dive into every single fight that I talk about, just a few fights because I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments, and I don't want this video to be too long. And also, if you guys make YouTube videos, feel free to do this idea as well. No big deal, I'm not going to cry that you've copied me, so let's just jump into it. So first of all, we're going to jump straight into heavyweight division. I'm sure you guys saw this one coming, and that is Tyson Fury versus Muhammad Ali. Now this fight would just you can picture it in real life, you can picture it in the game. The movement, the speed, the range of these fights, it would be awesome. And I mean, obviously, you know, Tyson is a big ass motherfucker, but Ali moved so well. But Tyson Fury also moves well. It's a fight that is going to have to be done. I'm going to have to see it. I might even have to just play as Fury, play as Ali, CPU, watch 2 guys fight it out. That just, to me, that is a fight that puts a smile on my face. It's a really interesting one. And I'm sure when it's like, say, if I play, it will be based on who is better at the game. But Tyson Fury will have his advantages, Ali will have his advantages. That's just a fight that really just, I don't know, it just interests me so much because they're such big guys. And, you know, obviously with Ali's movement and with Fury's movement, and, you know, how often was Fury going to fight someone with movement as good, if not better than himself? It's a really interesting fight, and like I said, it's a fight that puts a smile on my face thinking about it. And then we go down to a super lightweight versus a lightweight, give or take. It's always tough with boxing because obviously everyone moves weight class so often. So it's tough to just be like, oh yeah, it's a welter versus a welter. It tends to be like a super welter versus a super lightweight, or a welter versus a super welter. So I've tried to keep it within at least a weight class. So a super versus standard kind of weight class like that. And this one is super light versus lightweight, and that is Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. against Vasily Lomachenko. Obviously, absolute god tier legend. He's been updated on the eSports Box Club website as well to have the legend thing behind him now. Absolute god tier legend. One of the best, if not the best, it hurts me to say it, Mexican fighter to ever live. I know Canelo is Mexican, but Chavez Sr. is he is a legend's legend, you know, and Lomachenko is Lomachenko. Any fight that he has ever is interesting. Any fight that he'll have in eSports Box Club is interesting. But this to me was just a fight I just thought, you know what? I don't know why, but this fight just speaks to me that this will always be interesting. If you have 2 high level players, this fight will always be one of those ones where it really could go either way. Who's going to dominate their game plan? And yes, you could say, well, that's the case of any fight. That is, but to me, this fight, I just see it and I just think Lomachenko's movement is going to be so interesting, but Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. is Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. It's enough there. He's absolute legend. And yes, I suppose towards the end of his career, he did have a weaker set of fighters that he did fight, but the amount he fought, and, you know, at the end of the day, he's a legend. And I was trying to think of someone to challenge Loma, and he was the one that I thought of straight away when it comes to legend in eSports Boxing Club. Now, this one just genuinely intrigues me, and I know people will probably disagree with this one because of weight classes, and I know the first fighter wasn't always at cruiserweight, and he wasn't his best at cruiserweight, and the second fighter is now a heavyweight, but still, this fight really intrigues me, and this is assuming they're both in cruiserweight in some manner, and that is Roy Jones Jr. against Alexander Usyk. Now, I don't know why this interests me. Usyk is now a heavyweight. Roy Jones was best at light heavyweight. It is quite a gap, I know that, but, you know, Roy Jones's movement yet again is exceptional, same as Usyk, because both their movements are insane. Roy Jones' punching style, I don't know, was just a spectacle to behold. I like watching Usyk. I really do like watching Usyk. The way he fights, his pressure, his combinations is awesome. But when I watch Roy Jones as someone that didn't watch him in his prime, obviously because I would have probably been way too young, watching him now when I watch him in his prime, it is, you watch and you're like, you're just always in awe of the things he does and the things he did, should I say. And, you know, I like Roy Jones, I like Usyk a lot, so I think for me, if they're both in cruiserweight, this would be a fight I'd want to see happen. You know, I don't know if you'd, it wouldn't even be one of those things where it's like brawn versus brain. It would be brain versus brain, speed versus speed, you know, shot selection versus shot selection. It'd be a really, really interesting fight. For me, that fight, while bizarre, if they're both in the cruiserweight division, that is. And I know Roy Jones wasn't his best at cruiser, so you could say where he'd probably just get battered by Usyk at cruiser. But if they were to put prime Roy Jones across light heavyweight and cruiser, that would be an interesting fight, I feel like. So, but I don't know, maybe it was because Roy Jones went to cruiser too late in his career and it wasn't really a serious move. And according to BoxRec, Roy Jones Jr. won a few cruiserweight titles. I didn't actually know that. So I knew he moved to cruiser, I didn't actually know he won any titles, but yeah, just a fight that interests me really. Now we go down to the welterweight division, and that is Sugar Ray Leonard against Terence Bud Crawford. Now, I love Terence Crawford, and right away when I was writing this, I was like, I want someone to fight Crawford. I want someone to fight Sugar Ray Leonard. And I was like going through them, and this was the last fight I put down. Obviously, I know this is only fight number 4, because I've saved the last one to last for a reason. And while Leonard did fight at middleweight, I obviously had to do some research through BoxRec for all of this before I come and talk out my arse. His prime, shall we say, was in the welterweight division for Sugar Ray Leonard, and obviously Crawford right now is a welterweight champion. So to me, this fight just makes sense. Seems awesome. You know, two great fighters. I know people don't give Crawford a lot of credit, and obviously I'm sure for a lot of you guys, you're always going to say the legend will always win, but that is just because they are legends. In 25, 35, 40 years, our kids will be saying, nope, Tyson Fury is the best. And this, you know, because they're legends, and we look at legends so fondly, and, you know, very rarely do we have a bad thing to say about legends. But Crawford and Sugar Ray Leonard is a fight that's genuinely interesting. It's brilliant. And like I said, I'm not going to say who would win or who's going to win in the game or who would win in real life, because that just starts an uproar. For me, this is just a really interesting fight. Two brilliant welterweights, both intriguing to watch. I like watching Crawford a lot, and, you know, Crawford really entertains me. Same as, obviously, Sugar Ray Leonard has had fights that would stand the test of time, but, you know, Crawford's also had brilliant fights, and that's a fight that in the welterweight division that genuinely intrigues me. So we've done the heavyweight division, we've done the lightweight division, we've done the cruiserweight division, and we've done the welterweight division. So finally, we're going to jump to the middleweight division, and I'm sure you guys are all going, yeah, what a fucking surprise. But that is technically a middleweight versus super middleweight, but still, and that is Sugar Ray Robinson versus Saul Canelo Alvarez. You guys know I had to put Canelo on this list. Don't fucking judge me. I had to do it. Don't judge. But this fight obviously is awesome. Whenever I've spoken about the middleweight division, when I've spoken about my streams with these legends, and people always say Sugar Ray Robinson is the best boxer ever. And yes, obviously his record will always stand the test of time. It always will. There are obviously things where it's like, well, he was 100 fights in, he fought someone who was 6-0. Like, there's always things like that. But that was the old era of boxing, and it is what it is at the end of the day. And I always say there will be no 100 overalls in this game, because it doesn't make sense. To be 100 overall, you need to have a 100% knockout rate. You need to have never got hit. You need to have never got knocked down. 100 overalls just don't make sense in fighting games. And, you know, whereas I do think Sugar Ray Robinson and Canelo will be very, very highly rated. So this fight, not only in the game, is epic. In real life, to think about is awesome. But in the game, it's going to be an epic, epic fight. You know, they're probably going to be some of the highest rated fighters. And to be in the same weight class, technically, I'm sure they'll be in the same weight class in the game, is even better. So Canelo's always going to have that competition. So if you go into a fight and someone picks Canelo, you know you can pick that Sugar Ray Robinson, and you can stand your own in the stats and overall, and then it's just based on pure skill. So obviously you guys know I had to leave this fight till last, but I'm really happy that I was able to go lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, cruiserweight, heavyweight. I was really happy that I was able to get those down, because there's so many heavyweight legends with the Klitschko brothers, you know, Riddick Bowe, Joe Louis, Floyd Patterson, Jack Dempsey, Jack Johnson. Someone on my list originally was Jack Johnson versus Jack Dempsey, and I googled it, and apparently they did fight when one of them was 37 and one of them was 22 or something like that, but it was a private viewing, and I think it was Johnson went down in the 7th round. Jack Dempsey KO'd him in the 7th round, but it was like some kind of private viewing, as they were like 2 legends of the sport back then. They're still legends now, but even back then they were legends, so it was like a private viewing. It'd almost be like, you know, having Fury and Wilder fight, but only for a private viewing and not on television, you know. So it's very bizarre they done that, but I suppose boxing wasn't what it was back then. But yeah, these are my 5 fights. So just to recap, we've got Tyson Fury versus Muhammad Ali, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. versus Lomachenko, Sugar Ray Robinson versus Saul Canelo Alvarez, Roy Jones Jr. versus Alexander Usyk, and Sugar Ray Leonard versus Terence Crawford. Feel free to leave yours in the comments down below. I'd love to read them, please. Even if you have one fight, I don't care if someone else says it, or you just agree with someone. No one's going to judge you. No one's going to say anything. Just pop it down in the comments. I'd love to read through them. I'm trying to catch up on replying to comments lately. But with all the setup shit I'm doing, I've been set back even more. But yeah, this was a really, really fun video to make. And, you know, looking through it all, obviously writ it all down and stuff. But, you know, let me know if you guys are going to make videos on it, or if you're just going to jot yours in the comments, or something like that. Generally interesting though. It's a really, really interesting video idea and that. So yeah. But yeah, thanks always for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.